Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can visit our website at holybatcast.com or find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast, you'll find us. If you love the show, you want to support us, you can do that on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, a huge thank you to our patrons. You guys are amazing. Big thank you, because you all make it so much easier to keep this show going. So I hope you know how appreciated you are. So you guys do it out of the kindness of your hearts, and it means the world. As always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd. Just my name, Andy DiGenova. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. All those shows are at rf4rm.com. This episode, we're going to talk a little bit of news, but primarily we're going to focus on the new DC film trailer. That's right. New DC film was just out in theaters, is now home digitally. And before we know, we got another one coming. So we got another trailer to talk about, and that's Blue Beetle. We're going to also review the next episode of The Batman. And joining me for all this fun on his Easter break, it's Mr. Brendan Lowe. Hey, Brendan.
Happy Easter, everyone. How are we all?
Good. Happy Easter to you. Do you dye platypus eggs?
We have Cadbury everything, red tulip everything.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's all chocolate, my friend.
Oh, it's good. The Easter kangaroo comes early morning, hides
Actually,
the eggs.
You do joke, but there's a little marsupial creature over here called a bilby, and it's this cute little thing. And there was a push for a while in the 90s for Australia to adopt the Easter bilby.
Wow.
But we still have the Easter bunny, of course.
Yeah, but, the Easter bunny shut that shit down so quick.
But the Easter bilby, like, you can still buy chocolate bilbies and stuff over here, and usually a portion of the proceeds of buying them go to preserving them, because I think they were endangered or they are endangered or something. So yeah, but it is still the Easter bunny.
Okay, good. I'll tell you, you know what I was doing a couple hours ago? I was watching YouTube videos of kids getting scared of the Easter bunny.
That sounds awesome.
And maybe I'm a bad person, but it was so funny. It was so good. Just the Easter bunny showing up and these kids just screaming bloody murder. Anyway, it is Easter. So happy Easter, everybody. And then we have a special guest. I mentioned Patreon. I've mentioned in the past that I have some patrons who are due a spot on the show. And so we're very honored that this patron is taking time out of his Easter Sunday to talk about Batman and other things DC with us. So I appreciate it. Great guy. It's Ricky Garcia. Hi, Ricky. Welcome to Holy BatCast.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone.
And thank you. Thank you for making the time. And again, like on Easter, it means a lot.
Always. I would have been here Christmas Day if you would have asked me.
Wow. Well, I hopefully wouldn't ask that, but I say that, but you never know. Here we are on Easter. So like we were eating our Easter dinner and I was like, okay, I got a podcast. Let's go, guys. Well, Ricky, no, it's a pleasure. Thank you for supporting the show. And because it is your first time on Holy BatCast, as is tradition, tell us a little bit about yourself and what is your favorite Batman movie and why?
Thank you. I have been a Batman fan my entire life. If for many of us in our generation, it started with Batman the Animated Series, of course. I was 4 or 5 years old in 92, so I didn't get the Batmania of 89, unfortunately. And I'm always jealous of listening to you guys say that, because I'm like, man, I wish I was around that time. It would have been amazing.
It was awesome.
Yeah, so vicariously, I'll have to live through you guys with that. My favorite Batman movie now is, and I knew you were going to ask me this, it's going to be Dawn of Justice, just because I love Ben. Ben is just, he just, man, he looks the part, he fights the part, I love everything about it. It was, when the first time I saw it, I said, man, this is the BTAS Batman right here. He's got the Bruce Wayne down. He's got everything. It's incredible. And Brendan, before that, it was Batman Forever. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh, look at that. You guys are together. Yeah. No, very cool. And not, I feel like we don't hear that one a lot.
It's
like, I think people there are a lot of people who love it, but I feel like when I've had folks on, it never comes up as like the number one.
I think because, just like I said, again, it's like we got the 3 suits. Like, it's the most Batman for your, your buck, if you will. Yeah. The extended cut is really long. You got a good amount of both Bruce and Batman. and Alfred as well. Any little conversation with Alfred is just, it's like quintessential Batman comics. You know, I read comics weekly. It's so like, I love all of the elements that Ben was going for, and it really spoke to me.
That's great. I love it. Excellent choice. Excellent answer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Something I want to say just real quick, because, you know, you are a patron, you're a guest on the show. And for anybody out there listening, I am working my way through a list of patrons who are owed a spot on the show. But if you're listening and you're like, hey, how come I haven't heard from Andy? Like, if you're one of those people, check your spam folders. Let me just say that, because I feel like whenever I send an email from the Holy BatCast email, it'll end up in people's spam, which is silly because I sent it to one person. I don't know why that would happen. But if you are a patron who you're like, I feel like I'm supposed to have a spot on the show, check your spam folders, because I've sent out quite a few messages and I feel like that happens. So anyway, and if you're not, don't worry about it. It doesn't pertain to you. You're all good. But anyway, so Ricky, thank you again. I'm glad to have you here. You guys ready to talk? Oh, no. Before we talk DC, you know what else we got to talk about?
Your balls.
We got to talk about some balls, man. We got to talk about your Easter eggs. Got to keep your Easter eggs clean and pretty and looking nice. So this episode, as always, is brought to you by Manscaped. What a perfect time, considering that April is Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, to help raise awareness and fundraise for a good cause. So the leaders in below-the-waist grooming partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to remind you to check your Easter eggs this month for anything that might not be so golden. While you're down there, shave your balls while you save your balls. Support a good cause. Go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. Again, BATSCAPED. You get 20% off and you get free shipping. They still have those special edition, very cool purple Lawnmower 4.0s that are electric, waterproof trimmer. It looks awesome. Still waiting for mine, but I love it. It's stylish. It's cool. And if it's anything like the trimmer I still use every day, it's the best on the market. I was literally just talking to Scotty about this. Sorry to out Scotty, but I'm like, dude, get a Manscaped trimmer. Because we were talking about trimmers.
I don't think you've outed Scotty.
Well, no, Scotty's been out for years. He doesn't mind that. But like, no, we were just like having a chat, and I was like, dude, my Manscaped trimmer is so good. And he goes, really? He's like, is it that much better? I'm like, dude, I'm not telling you. And I was doing this off the air. I was like, no, dude, get one. Trust me, because they're the best. Like it works so well. The light is great. The battery is great. It doesn't nick you, and it is absolutely worth it. And you save money by using Batscaped. Get a little money back, and you get a really high quality product. Not to mention the deodorant, the shampoo, conditioner, the body wash, the ball deodorant, the ball toner. Yeah, like it's good shit. I mean, I swear to God, it's good stuff. All the stuff is good. I mean, for me, you can't go wrong with the little performance package, because then you get everything. But if you're not ready to commit all in, I get that, and I don't blame you. That's fine. Sample. But whatever you do some shopping. If you haven't gotten the trimmer, get the purple one. Maybe waiting paid off in this case, because the purple one is the same price as the normal one, as far as I can tell. But it's so cool, and you get 20% off. So use Batscaped, get the savings, and you're doing something nice for you. Check your balls too. Testicular cancer is no joke. Make sure everything's all right down there. If it's not, it's better to know sooner than later. Check it out. And all the purchases that you make this month not only supports Holy BatCast if you use that promo code, it's supporting testicular cancer awareness, which supports millions of men worldwide. So please do that. We would appreciate it. Go to manscaped.com, do a little shopping, and use that promo code BATSCAPE. All right. Now we can talk some DC stuff. We've moved on from the balls and onto some DC stuff. So the first quick thing here, and it's something that we mentioned earlier, or not earlier, I think it was on the last episode, was we finally are getting to see the animated My Adventures with Superman. And they announced it was coming to Adult Swim, and they said this year. And so I assumed that meant like late this year, because we hadn't seen anything yet. And then we got a quick little clip of it. It's real quick. It's like 20 or 30 seconds of the animation. And it now says it's coming in summer of this year. So it's coming sooner than we thought, sometime this summer. So did you guys get a chance to see this quick little like 20 or 30 second promo of My Adventures with Superman?
Yeah, I did watch it.
It's actually only 15 seconds.
Yeah, there's not much to go on. I mean, I did watch it the other morning when it was released, but yeah, it's very, very brief.
Yeah, it's short, but The animation looks high quality. We get a look at the Superman suit, which is slightly different. Like they tweaked it a little bit. Like it's still undeniably Superman, but they gave the S its own little stylish flourish. But yeah, what'd you think, Brendan?
Yeah, I thought it looks fun. It from the little bit that we saw, it doesn't scream adult to me with the
Not
whole
yet.
Adult Swim thing, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah, it looks like a good, fun Superman cartoon, and it's been a long time since we've had a Superman cartoon at all. So I'm keen.
Yeah, since like 96 through 98 was Superman the animated series. It's been a long time.
What did you think, Ricky?
I liked it. Like you said, the animation looked pretty interesting. Looked really, really well done. I love the aesthetic it's going for. He does look really young, and I was wondering if this had to do with the announcement of, here James Gunn doing the Superman movie soon. They probably also want a cartoon out with it as well. I'm hoping that we get more, but I don't think this year we're getting any sort of announcement at either San Diego or if we're doing Fandom again, or when they would actually release a longer trailer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get one once they're ready to announce the release date.
Yeah.
But again, as of right now, it's just summer, so I think we'll get a full trailer closer to it, which is fun. Like, yeah, I mean, it's cool to have new content to look forward to. I think, yeah, I agree with both you guys. I think the 15, it turns out it was only 15 seconds, 15-second clip. It's cool. The animation is neat. Looking forward to it. But you get to hear Jack Quaid's Superman, and it sounds really good. So, yeah, I'm down. But yeah, it doesn't scream Adult Swim yet, but maybe that doesn't matter.
I have a question about the title, though. It says, like, My Adventures with Superman. Are we going to get most of the story perspective from Lois and Jimmy? Is that what it's going for?
I mean, that's what it kind of feels like just because of the title, right? Is that it does feel like it's maybe more from Lois's perspective.
Interesting.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. Something else that you can look forward to, because it just wrapped production, is Joker Folie à Deux. So they wrapped filming just a couple days ago. And so they celebrated. Todd Phillips put on his Instagram another photo of Gaga as Harley and of Joaquin as the Joker. And it says, "That's a wrap. Thanks to these two and the entire cast and the best crew that the film industry has to offer from top to bottom. Gonna crawl into a cave now, edit room, and put it all together." So Joker 2, it is in the can, and he's got a while. He's got a year and a half to edit, so he can do as much as he wants with it. And that's what I heard a lot of folks say, of going like, wow, it's already wrapped. This is not an effects heavy film. It's crazy that it's going to be in post-production that long. And so there've been talk a little bit about like, why wouldn't they bump it up? And I'll just say right now, I think the reason they're not bumping it up is because a release schedule is very strategic of what they're releasing and when. And so I think that, they're counting on this in October. So I think it's going to stay. If it doesn't stay, it's because they're shuffling things around. But anyway, Folie à Deux is wrapped. What do you think, Ricky?
It's interesting you said a year and a half. I didn't actually catch that bit of information, but that puts it in 2025. And I mean, that's a pretty heavy year as well.
No, it's October 24.
Oh, okay. Well, this year is heavy, so maybe because this year's so heavy, because we have 3 or 4 DC movies this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. But yeah, I mean, there's it's the only DC movie next year.
Yeah.
So, and it's late 24.
If it is the only one, and is the success that Joker 1 got, I mean, maybe they thought it by itself could, retain, 3/4 or upwards of the success that Joker 1 did. And have we heard if it's rated R or not?
I'm sure it is. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that. Okay. Well, when they said musical, I was like, I've never heard of a rated R musical before. So this will be interesting.
Yeah, I know. It certainly will. And yeah, it isn't. I do wonder, though, if it's like, hey, the first Joker made $1 billion in October. Like, let's not mess with success. Let's just leave it. Because it does feel like the vibe. I don't want to say the vibe feels like October, but it certainly kind of the darker, drearier vibe feels like fall. It doesn't feel like a summer movie to me, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of understand it in that perspective. And I'd have to look at the entire WB slate for 24. Maybe, you know, maybe they've got some strong contenders in the spring and the summer, and this just makes sense for the fall. I'm not sure.
I'm excited. I'll definitely go like I do with every other DC movie. Opening day, I probably won't be taking the whole family. Maybe just my oldest daughter.
That's fair. How many kids did you say you have?
3.
You have 3 kids. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So yeah. This is maybe more of an adult's night out.
Yeah.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, I think I liked the first one a little more than you. It's not. I think everyone's on the same page. It's not a movie that you revisit very often.
No.
I've watched it maybe 2 or 3 times since it came out in the cinema, and each time I've walked away going, "Geez, that's a good movie." You feel like shit after it, but I'm still like, "Geez, that's a good movie." So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to this. It is a long wait. When they say musical, I do wonder what that's going to entail. Like if there are going to be production numbers in this, or do you know what I mean? It's like there could be a little bit of special effects post production stuff going on, but nothing that would take a year and a half.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, like you said, Andy, the first one worked well in October, made $1 billion. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this year, for better or for worse, is a very DC heavy movie year. And if there's nothing for next year, they need something to bridge the gap until we get the new Superman movie in 25. So yeah, it makes sense, I guess.
I will say this, and this is neither here nor there, but as we're talking about it, we're talking about how 24 is, as far as DC movies, is going to be empty with the exception of Joker 2, and Joker 2 is very much its own thing, right? It's his own Elseworlds thing. I feel like even though that can be frustrating for us as fans because we want everything and we want it now and we want our superhero movies, I think that in the bigger picture, it's probably very good that we're getting a gap year, if you will.
Yeah.
To like give everyone a break and also like just sort of break the public's, I don't know, just give the public's awareness of DC a year-long break as well. So that way when Superman Legacy comes out in July of 25, it truly will feel like a new start. Because if like let's just say if Aquaman 2 came out in December and then Superman Legacy came out, say 5 months later than that, it's like, it doesn't even feel like, oh, is this really a new start? We just, like it would feel like one just led into another, but having that gap, I think actually is going to probably help the overall perception of like a fresh start. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Anyway, as for Folie à Deux, it's great that they're wrapped. It seems like it was a very efficient shoot. I feel like they had just started shooting pretty recently, but time flies and I'm like, oh wow, they're done already. But I mean, like the first one, I feel like it was sort of a lean, mean shoot and they got it done quickly and cheaply. This one, they certainly got it done quickly. I don't know how cheap it was. It will be interesting, to your point, Brendan, to see how the scope has increased maybe with some of these musical elements that we've heard about. And then as for the photos that Phillips posted, they're not revealing in any way. I think the Gaga photo is pretty cool because she looks just sort of beaten down and miserable and sort of kind of tragic Harley. And we've all been there. And then honestly, the Joaquin photo might as well be from the first movie because it just looks the same.
Yeah,
cool
I was hoping we might get a little bit more
purple.
Like a different look. Yeah. I agree. Like you'd like to see him to switch up his look a bit.
I don't need the blue like on the eyes and I don't need the like he just looks like a clown.
Yeah, still the red nose. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we might get a little bit more accurate Joker, but whatever.
Yeah. Harley has elements of Batman White Knight in her as well. I don't know if you guys have read those books.
I have, but I'd have to go back to remember Harley in them. But yeah, I've read that.
later on when they do White Knight and Beyond the White Knight and some of the flashbacks, Harley wears a bunch of really cool, like they're like civilian clothes, but you can clearly tell it's Harley inspired with diamonds and black and red and gray. So I got that from Gaga as well.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'll check that out. I only read the first White Knight, so maybe she wasn't in that yet. I don't know.
She was in some elements. She becomes a bigger
remember.
part later on.
I remember liking it, but I remember no details. All right, cool. So that is coming, but we got a ways to go. But the good news is we have a DC movie that is actually coming sooner than we thought.
Oh, yeah.
Not much sooner, but a little sooner. And you know what? I'll take everyone I can get. And that is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So it was set for Christmas Day. It is now coming out 5 days earlier on December 20th. So yeah, there was just a little bit of WB schedule shuffling. So again, like it's certainly possible that at some point they do move Joker 2, but for now it stays put. But Aquaman and Lost Kingdom bumped up 5 days to December 20th. Not a huge thing, but hey, I'll take it sooner. That's great.
Well,
Especially
so
'cause,
I know what I'm doing.
yeah, especially because Christmas Day I'm a little busy, so I actually like being able to see it a few days before Christmas.
It'll have no impact over here because if it was getting released on Christmas Day there originally, it was always going to be a Boxing Day release here because that's like everything's shut on Christmas Day. Like you don't go to the cinemas on Christmas Day here. Like everything is closed. So yeah, and Boxing Day is traditionally a big movie release day for us. It was when like all the Lord of the Rings movies would release, and yeah, there's usually at least one or two blockbusters for Boxing Day, and they're not moving it. It's going to be the 26th over here. So
oh, okay. Well, I'm going to spoil the shit out of it.
just whatever.
I'm going to FaceTime you from the theater. It'll be great.
Brandon, you'll never believe this.
Hey, if I could dodge Ghostbusters Afterlife spoilers from your Thanksgiving to New Year's Day over here, I can dodge 6 days worth of Aquaman spoilers, and it's the Christmas week. I'll be too damn busy anyway.
Nah, that's a good point.
Middle of cheerathon, opening.
Yeah, right. We'll have so much. So much else to do. Cool. So something else that will be coming our way is Swamp Thing. So this past weekend was also, aside from being Easter, was Star Wars Celebration. So there was a bunch of Star Wars news that came out. Turns out James Mangold is developing a Star Wars movie with Lucasfilm. And when they were talking to him about that, he also was talking about Swamp Thing. So when asked about this, he said, the truth is I'm writing both right now, and who knows what's going to happen and what's going to blossom first or second. So there's your thing. I'm doing Swamp Thing. That's your scoop. It's not a rumor. It's happening. I put it online. So when he did this and I saw people go, Mangold's doing Swamp Thing, I was like, didn't we know that? I thought we knew that.
James Gunn had it. He had it in his initial slate, I thought. Where they talked
Swamp
about
Thing was in the slate, right? And then the next day, Mangold tweeted out Swamp Thing, and then James Gunn retweeted it.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh, great. Mangold is doing Swamp Thing. That's awesome. And so when it's like people were running this like it was a scoop, I was like, we knew this. Yeah. But I guess they never truly confirmed it, I guess. So this is the problem with our film nerd ways, is that because something already got retweeted 2 months ago, for me, it was already old news. And then when this happens, I was like, yeah, I know. Of course he is. I still love it. I still think it's a great choice and I'm all into it. But I was just like, was it news? I know. But anyway, James Gunn did chime in as well. He did say, of course, when we started charting the course for the DCU, one of the first people that I talked to was the super talented James Mangold about writing and directing his passion project, Swamp Thing. So sounds like Mangold has always wanted to do Swamp Thing, which you gotta love. It was one of the first conversations Gunn had, by his own admission. And I also appreciate it because then this is the question that comes up is, well, crap, is he going to do Star Wars first or is he going to do Swamp Thing first? And he even says, I don't know. I'm writing both. We'll see which one blossoms first. And that's fair enough because we all know how these things can go. Selfishly, I hope it's Swamp Thing. But it's like, well, we're still over 2 years away from Superman Legacy.
Yeah.
So who knows where Swamp Thing is in the timeline post that. So there's plenty of time to play with in there. Like, even if Swamp Thing is 2 years after Superman, that's 4 years from now. He's still got time to do both. So it's nice to get confirmation, but again, I was just kind of like, oh, great. Cool.
I think this reminder only solidified the nail in the coffin for the DC Universe show that was out. And realizing, oh, it's probably not coming back, because they had such a great storyline already developing with that show. Really good villains, and obviously your love for Blue Devil. It was all clicking and going in the right direction. And hearing this or seeing this again on Twitter, I'm like, yep, that show's really dead, isn't it? That sucks. I want it back.
Yeah, I agree. It was such a good show. It was such a great season. One of these days we're gonna find out the truth. I still feel like we never got the true story, but what a bummer.
Yeah.
But again, still, I like Swamp Thing. I think James Mangold's very talented. I think he's a great talent to have in the DC stable. So, hey, great.
I hope they use the same effects guys from the show.
And that's my biggest issue, is that the design for Swampy in the show was so perfect. I don't know how you top it. But I hope they do. Brendan, any thoughts?
Look, I'm sort of the same as you. Like, when it was, announced the other day, it was like, okay, like I kind of thought we knew this, but I guess there was nothing official apart from some Twitter action, which, we usually read the tea leaves on anyway. But yeah, look, I'm looking forward to it. The most I know about Swamp Thing is from that TV series. And, when he kind of shows up in the animated movies and things, I've never read a Swamp Thing comic. I'm sure I'd enjoy it now that sort of my horizons have expanded a little. But yeah, I mean, I'm keen to check it out. It's going to be a DC movie. It'll be a DC horror movie. And yeah, I'll be there.
Do you want to read something? The last volume that was out was written by the writer who's on Detective now. His name is Ram V. I don't know how he pronounces it. But it's like a 16-issue series, and it's really, really great and expands some of the cool lore. I think you really like it. Art's really great too.
Awesome, very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting news, and yeah, I think Swamp Thing is such a cool, unique corner of DC. So it's nice that he's not on the sidelines for long.
Yeah.
So James Gunn did, he confirmed that, and I guess. I want to say this real quick before we move on. As you said, there was Twitter action. And what's funny is, and again, I talked about this, I think, on the last episode with Preston, is I have trust issues with anything online. But the difference is here is it literally was a tweet from James Mangold and then a retweet by James Gunn, which is why I'm like, well, that I take to the bank, as opposed to some random site being like, oh, scoop, so-and-so is doing this. So, anyway, something else James Gunn was asked about recently, and this is one of those he got asked about it, so he says what he said, but it was about a Marvel DC crossover on film, and he said, certainly it's more likely now that I'm in charge at DC. Who knows? That's many years away, though. I think we have to establish what we're doing at DC first. I'd be lying to say that we haven't discussed it, but all discussions have been very, very light and fun. Thoughts, Ricky?
If Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. come back, I say, yeah, let's do it. But I don't know what the plans are for the MCU in the next, because like what you were talking about earlier with Swamp Thing, we're 2 years away from Superman, another 4 years away from Swamp Thing. We gotta get our house in order first before we start, going over to our neighbors' houses,
For sure. Brendan?
I have zero to no interest in the DC Marvel crossover. I really don't. Like, I read some of the comics back in the day. They were fun. But I have no need to see it on film. Like, look, it's been DC versus Marvel for over a decade now in terms of movies. So I don't need to actually see a movie about it. So I'm good.
You know what? I'm with him now. I would much rather have a Batman like TMNT live action movie first before any Marvel. And because that animated movie, like when it came out, I watched it every day for like a week. I thought it was perfect. I was like, Can we get
It
this
is.
in live action? I promise you, I will pay whatever you want me to pay. I'll take everybody I know. Just please give it to me.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Yeah, it is crazy to say, but I feel sort of the same as like I'm not all that interested. I don't really care. And I think it is because kind of what you were getting at, Ricky, is like at this point, like sort of the core of the Marvel characters have already moved on.
Yeah.
And like our current core DC characters are all going to be recast. So like right now there isn't even a great combination to want to be excited about, like I don't really care if Doctor Strange meets Aquaman, like I wouldn't hate it, but like it'd be different I guess if it was like Zack Snyder's Justice League versus like the Avengers, right? Like if it was those versions, but at this point those versions are all in the past anyway. So yeah, like whoever might be in play when this would even become a reality is just kind of like, I don't know, like of course I would see it because I see everything, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, like it's one of those things where I'm just not all that interested in it. I'd much rather see DC get their shit together and have a fully functioning universe before we worry about even trying to cross over with Marvel.
Like if it was a straight to home, animated movie
That's
or
what I was going to
something.
say, yes.
Yeah, cool.
Oh no, yeah,
That'd
that'd
be
be
so
fun.
much fun.
I'd
For
give
sure.
that a spin, but live action, no. Just make
They
good
could rewrite
movies.
the old comics and then just kind of update it.
Just make good movies in your own backyard. Don't worry about each other.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, now that James Gunn's in charge of DC, he's already bringing some Marvel actors over, including Frank Grillo, who played Crossbones in the MCU. So he was supporting his new film One Day as a Lion and was asked about his work with Marvel. And he said, Marvel never told the story about Crossbones, the mythology of the MCU, and just what Marvel has in its pool of characters. It's so deep. Crossbones was there for a minute, but he was supposed to be there longer, but then they went the direction they did. I think Crossbones serves a purpose, but I think the interesting thing is that if you see how many people around the world have responded to Crossbones, and again, he's on screen for a very effing short amount of time, I think there's more there. I think there was more meat on the bone. I was disappointed, which is why I went over to DC. So the first thing I'll say is I thought he was great as Crossbones, and I agree. Mostly I'm just bummed that he did not continue because I think he would have been a great adversary for longer for Steve Rogers.
Movies, right?
Yeah, but like
definitely two.
But Winter Soldier was the whole build up to get him to Crossbones, and then he's Crossbones for the prologue of Civil War, and then he's gone. So he's only Crossbones for like one action scene.
It's a good scene.
It's a great scene, without a doubt. So I understand what he's saying because I thought he was great as Crossbones, and yeah, if anything, I just wish there was more of him. But it's okay. He understands. Like they had a bigger story to tell, and understandably, Crossbones was not the top of the priority list. I get it. So now he's coming over to DC, and he's apparently been cast in a role, but nobody has said what. So, Brendan, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, it'd be different if we knew who he was playing. I mean, I know there's talk of like a Creature Commandos role, which I guess would make sense. But yeah, I mean, he's a decent actor. I think I've really only seen him in the two Captain America movies.
He was in one of the Purge movies too, and he was good in that too. I want to say it was the second one.
I might. If it was the second one, I would have seen that too. But yeah, I mean, look, I'd like to know more before I get excited. But cool, like, great, we poached one. Excellent.
Would you like to know more? What do you think, Ricky?
He's comfortable wearing, makeup and prosthetics and masks. So let's make him the new Blue Devil.
Hey, all right, that works.
Swamp Thing's being written, just put him in that.
See, I'd be totally fine with that. The thing that we know is furthest along is Creature Commandos.
Animated, right?
Animated. And we already know, and so that's where the speculation immediately went is, okay, he's already over at DC. He's doing something. Creature Commandos makes a lot of sense, especially because James Gunn said a lot of the actors who are going to do the voice in the animated ones will also be able to play the same character in live action. And so Creature Commandos does seem to be a pretty obvious option. Could he be Rick Flag Sr.?
Oh.
Very possible, right? Like, it's very easy to see him fit into that role. Could he actually be one of the creatures? Possibly. James Gunn, not a couple of weeks ago, said we've already cast Frankenstein.
I can't wait for that.
Me too.
That's who I was thinking.
So my guess is yes, it's Creature Commandos, but there's certainly a couple options within Creature Commandos that he could be playing. He could also be playing the vampire.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities.
There's a lot of possibility, but it makes a lot of sense.
And they're so minor characters that it's even harder to guess at this point.
Yeah. But what I didn't realize until I was looking at this right here is that I guess the speculation of him joining DC started because he was at the Shazam Fury of the Gods premiere. And so people were like, oh, why is Frank Grillo at a DC premiere? And turns out because he's part of the family now. And then I guess there's also been rumors because Ron Perlman was also at the Shazam premiere.
Please be Frankenstein.
So if you want to talk about Frankenstein,
that would be good too.
That's almost too perfect, right? Like, do we have like our Rick Flag and our Frankenstein, or I don't think it's actually Dracula, but our vampire and our Frankenstein.
Played in the DC universe before.
What was that?
Yeah, Perlman has played in the DC universe before. He was Clayface in the
Oh God, yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, interesting. Nothing confirmed about Perlman other than he went to the Shazam premiere. So maybe he just went to the Shazam premiere. Maybe he got the invite and just wanted a night out. We don't know, but that could be cool as hell too.
Man, now I'm really excited.
Yeah. So more on this as it develops. But we're going to be getting to know new DC characters before we know it. Coming up in August, we've got Blue Beetle. And Blue Beetle, poor Blue Beetle, has been the DC film that has been flying under the radar for far too long now. To the point where even Brendan Lowe, a co-host on Holy BatCast, can't remember that there's a Blue Beetle movie coming.
I did forget about it for a little while because it was all about the Flash.
And even last week, Preston said the same thing. He's like, oh yeah, Blue Beetle. I always forget. I'm like, everybody forgets. Poor Blue Beetle. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you. Blue Beetle appreciates you. Well, Ricky Garcia, are you of Hispanic descent?
Si, senor.
All right. See, so there you go. Good.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So fortunately, Shazam has come and gone. The Flash hype train is well on the tracks, and it's time to actually start getting people excited about Blue Beetle. So we got the Blue Beetle poster, and we got the first Blue Beetle trailer. And, well, I'm just going to say that, and I'm going to leave it there. But Ricky, you're a guest, so I want you to share your thoughts first on the first trailer for Blue Beetle.
I am incredibly excited because, like you said, Garcia, Hispanic descent. This is our first, if you don't count Zorro, which I'll count.
It's funny. I saw that online. It's like people were going, "Oh, this is the first Latino superhero," and someone's like, Zorro would like to have a word," and I'm like, "Well, I can see the argument both ways because is Zorro really a superhero?"
In my eyes, yes.
Okay, that's
all I had. That's all I had.
It's one of those things where I'm like, I can see it either way, but fair enough.
Yeah.
I love those Zorro movies. Even the second one that people don't seem to like, I like it.
I got that first one in 4K here recently, and it is gorgeous.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Enough about Zorro. Back to Blue Beetle.
No, I'm excited because this character, actually, I was first introduced to it with Batman Brave and the Bold. Mm-hmm. And so that's all I knew for the longest time. And when I learned about who Jaime Reyes was and his powers, his abilities, a scarab, and then later on learning that he's not the first Blue Beetle, and then you go down the rabbit hole of, wait, who was the first one? And you go back and learn about the previous Blue Beetle before him. And going into this film, I was really excited because I'm glad DC is doing this. Like, I'm glad that they recognize that they have a character like this in their stable that, we talked about, Marvel on the other side, that they don't really have this type of character with this type of, character and person that's involved. And so it's going to be really interesting because, and I hope that it's part of the bigger DC EU, because I've seen how, or I guess James Gunn's calling it DC films, I see how Blue Beetle can play and interact with others because of Batman Brave and the Bold. Like he works working with Batman, with Plastic Man, and with the Titans. Like this character is malleable. He's funny. There's elements of the character that go so much deeper, and like that is previously shown in like Young Justice. And I don't want to get my hopes too high with this movie because like I know where all the directions it could go. But as for an origin film for this, the trailer, I thought we just got to nail down the basics. It's a kid. He loves his family. It introduces a scarab perfectly well. Let's go from there. And then I hope it works so then we can, keep him going into that upper trajectory.
Yeah. Awesome. Brendan.
I think the most I know about Blue Beetle was it season 1 of Titans? Oh, not Titans. Young Justice. Did it have Blue Beetle in it?
Yes. I don't think it was season 1 of
season
Justice.
2. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he came a little later. Season 2.
Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah. So, but it was one of those original seasons. Yeah, so that's kind of the most I know about the character. And then obviously like the little things like Brave and the Bold when he popped up and stuff like that. So,
did you watch all of Brave and the Bold?
I think I have.
Because he was in it a lot.
It's been a while.
He was one of the main.
Yeah, I feel like him and Green Arrow and Aquaman, I feel like got the
popped
most
up quite a bit. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of I get sort of like Swamp Thing. I've never read a Blue Beetle comic. I'm sure that will change in the months leading into the movie coming out. So yeah, I know little about the character, and I think that's also another reason why it kept sort of falling off my radar. Is it's not like a character that I was desperate to see, but I mean, yeah, I won't go into the thoughts on the trailer yet, but yeah, look, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, I'm very much looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, I think that I always liked the Ted Kord Blue Beetle because he was Blue Beetle when I started reading comics, and then when they did the reinvention of Blue Beetle with Jaime Reyes, like you guys, what I learned about him, I mean, he showed up on Smallville once, which was pretty fun. Yeah. Towards the end when they started bringing in everybody. And then yeah, Young Justice, and then Brave and the Bold, and then I've seen him pop up here and there. And so he is a character that I feel like, even though he's not a very old character, he hasn't been around that long, he has certainly really gotten integrated into the DC universe very well, into a lot of different forms of media. And so when I heard they were making a movie, I was really happy about it because I think he's a very fun character. He's a unique one. And I like the history of the Blue Beetles. So I was excited anyway. And then for me, I was very happy with the trailer. I think the trailer looks like a hell of a lot of fun. I think you said it, Ricky, is it does a good job of just explaining the basics, right? You've got Jaime Reyes, comes from this maybe too supportive family, but he's really tight with his family. He's trying to, make a better life for himself, and he happens upon this scarab, and this scarab changes everything. And
in the Big Belly Burger box.
Yeah,
that I love. That was great.
Yeah. I love Xolo Maridueña. Is that how you say it? Xolo? I
think so. That's a very not common name.
Okay, because it's XOLO. Yeah. I think that's how you say it, but if not, I apologize. I love him from Cobra Kai. He is so damn charismatic. I just think he's great. And so when he was cast in this, I was like, perfect. You nailed it.
I'm a little mad because I wanted it to be me, but it's fine.
Well, I'm so mad at Chris O'Donnell because I didn't get to be Robin.
I'm mad for you too.
Thank you. But even in this trailer, like he's just so charming. Like you just love this guy, and I think that's so great. But yeah, like they really spell out the basics. It's very much a superhero origin story of this kid, he gets thrown into this whole world. But the difference, I mean, there are a few unique elements here. Very much, his whole family is part of this from the beginning, from the jump, which is unique. The fact that yes, it's very steeped in this Latino family, which is also unique. And then the powers of the scarab. It's interesting because I've seen already like headlines of like, it's like Iron Man meets Swamp Thing, or it's and trying to make this connection to other things. And I'm like, yeah, I see what you're saying, but the fact that you have to combine those things shows you that it's pretty unique and different, and it is a really unique power set. And then we had seen spy photos of him in the suit, and it looks great in the spy photos, but they're spy photos. Holy shit, does the suit look amazing in the
Suit
trailer?
looks good.
I need all of the action figures, and I'm not exaggerating.
It doesn't just look good, it's perfect. It is a perfect live action representation of the Blue Beetle character. I could not and would not ask for a single change. I have no notes. It's spot on. It's exactly what it should be. So they nailed it. They nailed the look, the texture, the detailing, and then just the representation of the powers. Perfect. So as far as Blue Beetle in live action on screen, this trailer delivers it, which means this movie will deliver it.
I said in our group chat the other day, Andy, and I was joking, but my concern with this movie is this looks like a big fun superhero movie. And the last DC movie that looked like a big fun superhero movie was Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Yeah.
And I said,
Great, though.
I know. Then I said in our chat, I was like, this looks like a big fun superhero movie. I can't wait for the internet to kick the shit out of it. And
No, but see, the Flash comes out before this, so we're going to be coming off a high. I'm hoping to ride the
hope
coattails.
so, because I just don't want this movie to be DOA.
I know.
And that's my fear. And I'm not wanting to bring the tone down. I think it's a
Well, you just did, asshole.
I think it's a genuine concern.
No, because see, Latinos have big families. We're all gonna go out and see it. I got like 6 people in my family alone. Like we're gonna go.
I hope so, because it looks, again, and I'm someone who knows the bare minimum about the character. It looks really good, and I want to go and see it, and I want it to do well, and I really, really don't want to be in the same situation, 5 days after the movie comes out, of us all just going, well, shit, it happened again. Like, it doesn't deserve that. So
we're going to get the Flash.
I really hope it does well. Yeah. But the one thing I did have a chuckle at in the trailer was, I mean, you got to remember, this was announced as a direct-to-streaming movie, for HBO Max. And, at the end of the thing, it's got the big filmed for IMAX. And I was like, well, shit, what a turnaround that is. That
yeah.
Did you guys like an extra $1 million camera?
I noticed that too, and it did make me laugh. But remember, they did make that change.
It was
early on.
Yeah, it was very early.
Yeah, it's not like they finished the movie and then decided. They decided before production. So
yeah,
the budget from Batgirl to give it to this movie.
Yeah. But no, I agree with that. And it's funny. Oh my God, you said so much that I want to hit on. But it's funny that you mentioned that, because for the most part, I've seen all positive reviews here. Like for this trailer, I've seen very positive responses across the board. The only negative-ish things I've seen is, oh, well, you can tell it was made for streaming. Like that's the only real negative I've seen.
It wasn't.
and I think that's like, a little bit of projection of like, because we knew they changed it. But I also feel like we are now in a world where like, we don't know how to handle a mid-budget movie, right? Mm-hmm. If something is mid-budget, it's like, oh, obviously it's made for streaming. It's like, no, like, it's probably an $80 million movie, not a $200 million movie. And it looks like
all 80 million of it. It looks,
and it looks accordingly, like, and that's okay. A moderate sized and a moderate budgeted superhero movie is actually a good thing. It's good for the business. It's good for the variety
of this genre. Because if we're going to continue to spend upwards of $250 million per superhero movie, and what's the name of the guy who runs Warner Brothers now?
Yes, I know, Zaslav.
Yeah, Zaslav. Yeah. He's not going to be happy if Gunn and Safran are going to spend that amount of money on superhero movies. It's not going to happen. We have to learn to do it in this budget.
Yeah.
if we're gonna have a future.
Right. And that's just it. Is it looks like a mid-budget superhero movie, which again to me is a good thing because that's the right investment in a Blue Beetle movie. You don't want to drop $200 million on a Blue Beetle movie the way you drop $200 million on a Black Adam movie.
The slow-mo effects cost money, but they look great.
And I like that movie. I'm just saying, you should have never spent that much on a Black Adam movie.
Well,
$100 million on a Shazam movie. That's right. And again, 80 million is my guess. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but it's probably somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm like, no, that's.
I don't even think you need to spend $200 million on a bloody Superman movie.
Yeah, fair enough. But anyway, that's my point is like for the folks who are like dismissing it of like, oh, it's made for streaming. It's like, no, like it's okay to have a medium-sized superhero movie. In fact, it's a little refreshing, that not everything has to be the biggest thing in the world. And for a medium budgeted movie, again, it looks great, especially Blue Beetle, not just the suit, but the effects and the action beats we get in here. And we get quite a few.
Yeah.
It's badass. Like the way he moves, the way he fights,
he flies, the way the wings come out.
Yeah, and honestly,
the boss, that's awesome.
From the moment when I saw him shoot up and like essentially go into space and he's looking down on the planet, I was like, oh wow, this is. I actually thought this is a bigger movie than I was expecting because there's some scope there, and I was impressed. And that final money shot at the end of him creating that massive sword and then scraping it across the ground and flipping it around his back. It is so geeky and so awesome. And I'm like, I'm in for it.
And we still haven't seen my favorite aspect of the Blue Beetle, like weaponry. It's like the cannons. And I know they're holding back because there are so many elements that I've seen within the comics or in the Injustice games. I'm like, no, man, this character can do a lot more, and they're holding. They're just not showing us yet, but I'll wait. I'm excited.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, and you mentioned it earlier, is Blue Beetle has a long history. There was Golden Age Blue Beetle, and then there was Ted Kord Blue Beetle, and now the Jaime Reyes version. I really, because I knew they were doing Jaime Reyes, that's what I expected them to focus on, and that's great. And I had already accepted that. And it's such a nice surprise that they are also paying homage to Blue Beetle's past. It was unexpected, and it was so cool and refreshing to see that. I mean, we knew Kord Industries was going to be a part of the movie because, like, of the casting of like Susan Sarandon, she's of the Kord family. So I knew that at least there would be nods to the Kord family, but it was unexpected to essentially get the old Blue Beetle costumes and to get the Beetle ship.
Yep.
And that Beetle ship looks much like the costume, looks perfect, looks just like off the comic book page in live action. It's perfect.
So the DC Universe Rebirth, we were talking about comics earlier, and if you want to read them too as well, Brendan, when they did Rebirth, Ted Kord was actually a mentor to Jaime Reyes in that series. So I got really excited because for a moment I thought, if that ship is in there, and if Ted Kord Industries is in there, like, could we possibly get him also as well? They haven't mentioned him. I don't know if there's any surprise casting.
Yeah,
I didn't want to get my hopes up again, but
I'm right there with you.
At the very end of the trailer, and I love that DC's doing this. At the end of the trailer, how they showed the 3 comics.
The comics.
Yeah, the DC Universe Rebirth title, which is like volume 10. I can't remember at this point for Blue Beetle. That was the start of that run that they showed. I'm like, well, that run starts with Jaime with Ted Kord as his mentor. And as well as Graduation Day, which I have the first couple issues, but I haven't read it yet. And so are they trying to tell me something, or are they messing with me? I hope so, because I know they said Booster Gold and Blue Beetle later on down the slate. And this would be a perfect place to introduce that.
Yeah.
Like, perfect.
I mean, I'm not expecting to see Ted Kord because he wasn't cast that we know of. Like you said, unless maybe they just kept it secret, which I'm all for because I would love the idea of them going down that road.
You could. This movie's flying under the radar, like you said.
Yeah, that is very true. So yeah, I would love that. I'm trying to, like you said, not get my hopes up, but because I'm already getting more than I expected with Kord Industries and with the ship and just those nods to the past. I think that all that is so cool. The very last line is Batman's a fascist. and I saw
At least one
Oh,
person
man.
lost their mind over that.
yeah, I saw some random dude losing his mind about it, and I'm like, guys, we need to learn how to take a joke.
Do you guys
You
remember Carrie
know?
Kelly's parents in The Dark Knight? There's that line. It's like, Batman's a fascist.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought it was funny, especially because, like, yes, it's not the first time that he's been called that, right?
Yep,
And that's
not the first
exactly it. And that's why it's funny, and especially like for someone who would, be in a different neighborhood who might who might not like what Batman's doing, I could see why they would say it. So I thought it was funny, but then I thought it was equally as funny that some YouTubers were losing their minds about it. And I'm like, wow, guys, sometimes we just need to relax.
There are so many iterations of Batman. What is he doing? Oh, he's against the government for some odd reason, including Injustice and other, comics.
So anyway, it made me laugh. And yeah, it is interesting to see the whole family, but it does give the whole thing a different vibe, and I hope that works for it. I hope, to your point, that people bring their families, that it feels more like a family affair because of that.
Yeah, and I mean, you could easily do. I mean, you could do the secret identity thing, but like I think it's harder for like younger, like teenagers to keep that because we saw it with Spider-Man and some of the other characters where you can only do that for so long because you'd have to imagine if the family members don't catch on, they're either very stupid or they just don't care. And I don't know if you could really do that all that well. So I like that they can share it with the family because to me it brings a different structure to the superhero movie that we're used to.
Yeah, that was the other thing I saw is they were like, oh, it's Spider-Man meets Venom. And it's like, sort of. I get why you're saying that, but yeah, sorry. That just
I'll give them Venom just because of the scarab being
not
necessarily a parasite, but I also was going to mention in some iterations of the Blue Beetle like mythos, the scarab doesn't talk. And I noticed that in the trailer there's like a woman voice.
Yeah.
So I think that probably lends to the Iron Man comparison because you normally don't get that in a lot of the iterations. It kind of just like beeps and boops like R2-D2.
Right. Yeah, like in Brave and the Bold, it spoke to him, but we could never hear what it was saying. It was, like you said, it was more like beeps and boops.
Yeah, it was the 3PO R2 like type of relationship or whatever C-3PO says is what you have to kind of sum up based on what R2 is saying.
Yeah.
So
the other thing I wanted to hit on, because it hits on what you were saying, Brendan, is about being afraid that this might get met with the same reaction of Shazam. I think that, again, the trailer, again, from what I saw, I can only speak to my own sampling, but from what I saw, the trailer had a lot more positive reaction than I saw any of the Shazam trailers get, which is encouraging. And I've also noticed that I feel like James Gunn took notice and is trying to not repeat the mistakes of Shazam, because since this has come out, he has been very vocal and supportive about how great he thinks the movie is and how everyone should see it and how excited he is about it. And I think there was some sort of confirmation that it's actually part of the new DCU going forward.
Okay.
So it's almost like they're already trying to head that off at the pass of being like, oh no, this isn't a lame duck. This is part of the new universe, which I'm like, I still feel like it's a bit of a gray area, but my hunch is there's nothing in the movie one way or the other. So there's no reason it can't just be part of the new universe. Cause I don't expect Superman or Batman to show up in it, and or Wonder Woman for that matter. So if those things don't happen and it's still just very much Blue Beetle and all you get is a couple name drops of Batman or Superman, just the fact that they exist, the movie can be in any universe they want.
Yeah.
I hope so. Cause like I said, there's a lot of different ways you can take the Blue Beetle character. We could do the Reach. We could include him in Titans. There's so many different ways you can do it. But I mean, we're gonna have to wait to see, hopefully, for it to be a success.
Yeah. Well, and you're right, like, because
doing.
They're already planning on Booster Gold, so ideally you've already got an established Blue Beetle that then you can team them up.
Yeah. Do some JLI action.
Mm-hmm. All right, Brendan, anything else in the trailer that we failed to mention?
I said the bus scene's really awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool.
And I honestly, if it was announced, I'd forgotten. I had no idea Susan Sarandon was in this, so that was a nice surprise.
That was announced because it was basically she's the villain, and they gave the character's name and it was something Cord. I can't remember what it was, and that's why I was like, oh, cool. At least there's some connection to the Cord family. But yeah, I don't know a lot about her character.
Yeah, well, like I said, it looks like a big fun superhero movie. It's going to make me read some Blue Beetle comics in the coming months, which I'm looking forward to doing. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think it's going to be a fun time at the cinema, and that's all I'm expecting it to be. Is just a good fun, hour and a half at the movies.
All right, awesome. Ricky, anything else?
No, I'm just gonna pre-order the tickets as soon as I get the link from Fandango or whoever.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome. I really love it. I think it's a great trailer, and I can't wait for the movie. It's one of those. It's one of those things where you're like, we're getting a Blue Beetle movie.
Wow. The summer's gonna be all DC all the time. I can't wait.
Yeah, I also think that, like you said, it will be post The Flash. They would be smart to do something in The Flash. Well, I mean, yes, a trailer, but I also just mean if we assume that movie is going to end up with sort of a new status quo, if they put in some sort of nod to Blue Beetle coming next, I don't think that would be a terrible idea.
James, I know you're listening. Some sort of mid-post credit situation there, Andy?
Maybe. I guess what I'm thinking. Remember the end of Crisis of Infinite Crisis of Infinite Earths?
Which one, on the CW? Or?
Crisis on Infinite Earths. Oh, yes, okay. CW.
Oh, okay.
CW. And like when it was over, like right at the end, it was like they kind of showed us who was where.
Yes.
I kind of like
a multiverse breakdown.
Yeah, like I kind of expect something like that at the end of The Flash of like, here's the new status quo, here's who's still in play, and all you need is a shot of Jaime Reyes, and you go, oh, he's okay.
I thought you were going to say you see the Scarab come crashing down onto Earth.
You could do that too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess what I'm just saying is like if this truly is going to be part of the DCU moving forward, the best way to make that super clear is to make it clear in The Flash, because everybody's going to go see
the connective tissue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Pinning all our hopes on The Flash.
Oh my God, ain't that the truth? Whoa, what a world. But all right, Blue Beetle's coming. Looks fun as hell, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's it for the news for now, guys. But guess what? We're making our way through the Batman. So here we go. It's time to review the next episode of the animated series, The Batman. We are up to episode number 9, The Big Dummy. We get to meet this version of The Ventriloquist and Scarface. This one was directed by Sam Liu, written by Robert Goodman, and it aired on November 27th of 2004. So, The Ventriloquist and Scarface is out there, and they're working on something. And they got these two big galoots working for them called Rhino and Muggsy. Did you happen to see who voiced Rhino and Muggsy?
No, I didn't look.
Was one of them Brad Garrett, whatever his name is?
It was oh God, now I'm doubting myself. It was John DiMaggio.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
But the Ventriloquist and Scarface was someone else, and now I can't remember. so
Brandon, it's supposed to be your area of expertise.
That's true. If anyone should know, it should be Brandon.
Voices.
Brandon, this is your show. We're doing this for you. If anyone should know, hold on. Here we go.
2004.
Oh, okay. So yes, John DiMaggio was Rhino and Muggsy, and the Ventriloquist and Scarface. That's who it was. Dan Castellaneta.
Oh wow,
fun. Homer Simpson / the replacement genie. is the
Replace me,
ventriloquist
Gene.
Scarface.
Actually, now that you say that, I can absolutely hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're off stealing a bunch of stuff, and one of either Rhino or Muggsy, I can't tell with you which one is which, but one of them has some doubts about Scarface because he's a dummy. And so Scarface almost puts him into like a rock grinder or something. So while he's out there doing his thing, Alfred decides it's time for Bruce to start dating.
Oh my gosh, this story.
It's so random, right? And so he signs up Bruce for online dating. And so while
Very
Bruce
2004 too.
yeah. And so while Bruce is out trying to stop Scarface and the ventriloquist, where at first he thinks it's an act, and then he realizes it's not an act, it's truly a split personality. At the same time, he's chatting with this lady online, and he's gonna go on a date with her. And he manages to almost stop Scarface. They keep talking about retiring, but they're not gonna, but Scarface doesn't seem like he really wants to retire. And they're trying to figure out what he's working on, and they have a close call, and he just barely escapes. And then Batman figures out what he's been working on, and it turns out it's like a huge 2-story tall Scarface who holds the ventriloquist like he's the dummy. And with the big robot Scarface, they're gonna go rob gold bars. And so Batman stops him, and Batman's like, oh man, see, like, so if Scarface is dominant, what if Batman is dominant and I shouldn't date this girl from online? And that's the end. The end. The big dummy.
The big dummy.
I appreciate that it's the big dummy, because like at the end it's really like it's a big dummy. Like, I didn't see that coming. I was like, oh, the big dummy. It's a big one. I got it.
Well, to be fair, the last two have been like the big chill and the big heat. So,
oh, that's true.
They're on a streak here.
I mean, no, like I just thought the big dummy. Oh, cool, got it. It's it's a Scarface episode. I forgot that they literally make a big dummy. Like that's what
I always took it as, because Scarface calls Wesker all the time, like, you big dummy, or
but that may have been the dummy.
Yeah.
What did you think, Ricky?
I actually found it quite enjoyable in certain aspects of it, just because I was not looking forward to the whole online dating with Bruce, with Alfred helping him, because I think in other Batman mediums Bruce would have been really mad at Alfred about doing this. It's like, come on, Alfred, like, don't waste my time with this. But he genuinely at one point was like, all right, Alfred, whatever you need to do to to make it work, just throwing him a bone, I guess, because Alfred does so much for this man to begin with. So I think Bruce shouldn't upset him, or shouldn't just ignore him completely. But I was a little also thrown aback with how much I forgot that Scarface shares a name with, Tony Montana, and how he even slaps Batman at one point, asking him to say hello to my little friend, and actually tries to smack him. And I had to pause it because I was laughing so hard, because I was like, I can't believe somebody wrote this and it's in this show. But I thought it was silly and fun.
Ricky, that moment is the best moment in the whole episode.
Yeah.
In the whole episode.
So far in the series for me, actually.
When Scarface slaps Batman in the face
twice,
and Batman just stares. And then he looks over at the ventriloquist, and the ventriloquist like embarrassingly giggles. And I was like, that is the most ridiculous but hilarious thing, because in that moment, Batman is me with Scarface as a Batman villain.
Yeah.
Because that's how I've always felt. I'm like, he's just a damn puppet. And so like I've never been a big Scarface fan, and I've said this in the past, and I'm sorry.
Well, in this version, he doesn't even have the Tommy gun. In the other show that I'm sorry we keep comparing it to, it's a little dangerous, because does this show not let villains shoot guns?
Oh my god, I've never noticed, but I bet you're right. I'm sure
the guns thing's different in this one, because even the cops, when they've got the guns, they're kind of the fantasy blaster, they shoot lasers. Like, it's not really a gun show like BTAS was.
Yeah.
And I even know that like Paul Dini and some of the other guys, how they love working on the show but they had a hard time with, standards and practices about guns. And I thought maybe this show was smart and it's like, you know what, let's just not even fight it. Let's just come up with other ways to throw things at Batman. I don't know.
No, that's a great observation, and I didn't even think of it, but you're 100% right. Now that you mention it, yeah, I think that's got to be it. So anyway, my point is part of the reason I'm just not a Scarface fan is I just have a hard time seeing him as a viable threat, and that moment is exactly it, and it made me laugh so hard too, just like you said. Brendan, what did you think?
I thought it was a really fun episode. I saw the humor in the Alfred online dating thing, which kind of made me chuckle a bit. I don't dislike Scarface as a villain. I don't have any need to see it in live action. And honestly, even in the comics, with how they usually do the G's for B's or whatever it is, like that kind of gives me the shits after a while.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But I actually like him in the animated medium. I don't know. It just kind of works for me. I think it is so bizarre. But a lot of the Batman villains are bizarre. I kind of like the idea of, sort of that split personality and the ventriloquist being this old, shy little dude and Scarface just being evil as hell. Like, I don't know, it just kind of works for me in the animated form. So I liked it. I thought it was I'm of two minds with the mech Scarface. Like, I don't really need to see a mech Scarface, but then like having Scarface carry around the ventriloquist, I thought was
I need that.
Yeah, was kind of cool as well. Like, so yeah,
that's what's really going on in Wesker's head.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, and this one to me sort of broke the formula of the last couple of episodes, where it's Batman meets a villain, Batman has to design a suit or come up with a way to beat said villain. Like, it was a little bit more basic than that, and I think it worked. And yeah, like I said, I thought it was a fun episode. I liked it.
I love whenever Rhino or Muggsy, I can't remember who, said, "Hey, check this out," and he asked,
"Yes, the water."
What the plan is. Yeah, the water. I had to watch it twice because I didn't know what they were looking at, and then as he was drinking the water, and Scarface was still talking, and when they're done, he's just like, "Bravo, bravo, isn't he good?"
Test of the ventriloquist, and so he's like, "Hey, watch this!" Like that was hilarious. Like to me, this was more of a comedic episode.
Yeah. Because they knew, like Muggsy or Rhino, whichever, he's like, he knows.
Yeah, you can't play Scarface too serious. And I think that's why this one worked, is because it was a comedic episode and I laughed at it. Well, not laughed at it.
You must have seen him at a performance. It's like, I want to work for that guy. He's fun.
Yeah, like, I wasn't laughing at it in like, this is stupid. I was laughing along with it. Like, I was picking up what it was putting down, and it worked for me.
But it ended so sad with that poor lady not getting to meet her billionaire date.
Yeah.
I mean, I laughed at it. Like sometimes for the right reasons and sometimes not. I think it was when the big mech Scarface came out. Like, I laughed, and I mostly laughed because I was like, wait, what? What's going on? But you're right, the visual of Scarface holding the ventriloquist like he's the dummy is fun. So yeah, I'm, like you said, I'm very much on of two minds, because I'm like, it's so ridiculous, but it's kind of clever that then the ventriloquist does become the dummy. Yeah, it was all right. I mean, again, I'm a broken record. It's fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was okay for what it was. There were a couple moments that I enjoyed. When it was a subplot about online dating, I thought that was really weird. I'm just like, huh? I'm like, where are you going with this? And then when they tried to tie it together, it'd been like, oh, I'm just like Scarface. Batman is my Scarface. I'm like, okay, sure. It was all right. And then the redesign of Scarface, I did remember that he didn't have the hat. So I remembered the bald head, but I didn't remember that like they abandoned like the 1920s gangster vibe.
They're going for the 1980s gangster vibe.
Yeah, exactly. And tried to go for like, I was trying to figure out what era was that. Was it 70s? Was it 80s? But yes, sort of a more modern kind of gangster vibe with the earrings and the gold chain and the unbuttoned shirt and the
Tony Montana.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's more Tony Montana.
How do you guys feel about man sandals and man sandals on dummies?
I like them. I mean, sure. At this point, why not? Who cares? I do think it's funny that like the way Batman finds out who he is he's like, oh, I'm looking through like ventriloquist acts to find the dummy because it's easier probably to find and recognize the dummy than it is to find maybe the ventriloquist. And the fact that was how Scarface looked when they did shows. He designed him that way to do shows. That's crazy to me, where I was like, you'd think it'd be a little more of like a friendly looking thing when they were actually in act before he lost his mind. And then he probably would have given it a makeover. But it's like, no, he was always a weird, scary 80s gangster, I guess was always the vibe.
If it was done in live action, you know how it showed the other dummies? One would have been like the dummy from Goosebumps. The other one would have been like Annabelle. And then it would have been like Scarface.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, yeah, the big dummy, real weird, but all right. Well, final thought and a letter grade, Ricky.
B+. I watched it twice.
Oh wow. Okay, great, Brendan.
Yeah, I was in on the joke with this one. It worked for me. I thought it was, like I said before, it was just a really fun and funny episode, and I dig Scarface and animation, so I'm going A-.
Oh wow. I'm the downer then. Like it was all right, but yeah, I can't get there. I'm at a C+.
He slapped Batman. That's a whole grade for me.
That's why it's not a D.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess it was just a little too silly for me. All right. Well, quite a range on that one. An A-, a B+, and a C+ for the big dummy.
Brendan's trying to get the weight of the show up.
Yeah, he is. I know. He's like, I swear, guys, I swear it gets better.
I believe him. I'm here for the ride, man.
All right. Next one up is called Topsy Turvy. And it's the return of the Joker. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm looking forward to the return of the Joker by now. So next time, Topsy Turvy. But we're not ready to say goodbye just yet because we've got to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It is time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, we got a handful of messages here. This first one is from Hugh Morris. It says, hey there. Do you think it were possible to keep Batman and Wonder Woman... what's he talking about? Oh, he's talking about BVS. Do you think if it were possible to keep Batman and Wonder Woman out of the trailers and no one knew about them, that BVS would have been better received as opposed to being the hype machine of the Trinity? Thanks for everything that you do. It makes the workdays go by faster. Thanks, Hugh. Okay, so BVS keeping Batman and Wonder Woman.
For a start, the title would be giving it
The title, yeah. Superman v somebody.
So, yeah, I'm going to meet you halfway. I'm going to say there's no way to keep Batman out of the trailers. That's the premise of the whole movie.
That was the selling point, yeah.
Yeah, but I think so many of us said when we saw that movie is how cool would it have been if they had been able to keep Wonder Woman a secret?
So cool.
Because the movie plays as if you're not as if you're not supposed to know who she is.
Mm.
Because she's just this mysterious woman who's following Bruce around. And so the reveal when it happens is so badass. And it's badass even though we knew she was Wonder Woman. But imagine if we didn't know that going in, it would have been amazing. Do I think it would have helped perception? Yeah, I think it would have. I don't know if it wouldn't have cured all ills, but it would have helped. But yeah, it would have been a heck of a trick to pull off, but I wish they could have because it would have been something else.
And I think they could have given that gal, I mean, back then, no one knew who the hell she was.
No, she was
Like-
she was from Fast Five at
Yeah,
that point.
and
Yeah.
like had
It's
a
actually
small part on
Fast Four.
Entourage and stuff. Like, yeah, like you could have easily kept that a secret. Like, no one would have cared.
Yeah.
They would have had to also, if you were gonna, because they showed Doomsday, right? Like leading up to the movie,
They
and that's
did,
how
yeah.
we found out. That's how we
Mhm.
found out Wonder Woman was in it. They would have had to have had somebody else block the heat blast from Batman, which they probably could have shot the same scene with Superman. So maybe we would have been tricked into thinking it's going to be Batman and Superman versus Doomsday, and then showed us the actual scene in the actual movie itself. But there would have had been a lot of trickery involved.
Yeah.
It would have been hard.
But
No,
you-
it would have been hard.
But you can do it. You
Yeah,
can
you can.
do it, you know?
The Avengers did it, right? They
Yeah.
had like a whole shot of them running together, and that doesn't exist anywhere in the film.
Yeah, I'm still annoyed about the way they treated Hulk in those movies.
I mean,
Like-
but still, you could do that.
But yes,
Imagine topping it off.
yes, you
with
can
the-
lie to us.
Yeah, you can't lie.
Another
For
thing
our
that
own
was, that was in the trailer, but like imagine the surprise of her showing up and
Yeah.
then having the "Is she with you? I thought she was with you."
Yeah.
Like the audience would have just lost their mind.
Yep.
I was so
Again,
into the
the
movie
way
that I
that-
forgot about her.
The
So
way
when
the
she did show
movie
up-
plays is as if you're not supposed to know.
Yeah.
So
When is the first time she says her name?
the first time you hear the name is when she's walking off the plane.
That's right. So you're
And-
right, because we see
Yeah.
her 2-3 other times prior to that.
Yeah, there's no name until then.
And it's his
Um,
prince.
But you do get you get the
The Lex
yes.
files. Yeah, okay.
you do get the photo before her entrance. But even so,
We got a
even
lot
if
to
you-
do when we
even
build
if
the
you're-
time machine.
even if you had gone on that ride with Bruce and still you see that photo, you go, "Oh shit, I knew it. I knew she was Wonder Woman." You know, like it still would have worked. Anyway, but that's not how
I mean,
it
at the
works.
end of the day, the movie's still the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
The ultimate cut is still the best.
Yeah. Next message from Michael Murphy. It says, "Hey there, it's been a while, but I was wondering, do you think we'll ever get the Ayer cut of the Suicide Squad? I hope that we see it someday. David Ayer tweets a lot about it. Thanks, Michael." Thanks, Michael. What do you guys think? Do you think we'll ever see the Ayer cut? Ricky?
I mean, going back to even Zack Snyder's cut, there was a moment there where, and Andy, you talked about it, where at a certain point, I knew that for a lot of us, yeah, I want it, but they're never going to give it to us, so I'm just not going to worry about it. And then, lo and behold, they were like, "Hey, this March we're going to give you Zack Snyder's Justice League," and it was incredible. And I bought digital and the Blu-ray, instantly. So I'm trying to keep that same energy for David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Just, yeah, man, like I liked what you showed us. I even liked the whatever the second cut, director's cut on the Blu-ray was.
Yeah, the extended version.
The extended version. I like that cut as well. With you get a little bit more Harley, you get a little bit more backstory, especially with one of my favorite characters in that, Katana. And I just, if I continue to kind of feel the same way, I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised later, where they just go, "Hey, 2024 is not very busy, right? So here in like March, here's the Ayer cut, So, I'm trying again not to just keep my hopes up, because it also sort of breaks my heart for him, because I've watched all of his other movies, and he's a great director. He makes films with really unique styles. And when I heard that he was doing the Suicide Squad, I thought that's perfect. This guy, he knows how to, kind of like Zack Snyder, like he knows how to frame these shots and make these very interesting storytelling points. So I'm hoping, but like I said, I'm going to keep that same energy for same way with Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah. Nope. What about you, Brendan?
Well, I hate to piss on your parade, Ricky.
Ah.
I don't think we will. I think if we were going to see it, we would have seen it by now. Obviously, Zack's Justice League was a juggernaut in terms of pop culture. It had the zeitgeist for quite a while. It did pretty well. I mean, it is what it is. We all know what it ended up being. I think with the change of management and everything happening at Warner Brothers since Zack's Justice League came out, it's not going to happen. If, like I said, if it were, I think they would have launched it off the back of the success of Zack's Justice League, and we would have had it, 12 to 18 months after. But the fact that the old management didn't do it, there's absolutely no way new management are going to do it. So I think people need to just really accept the fact that it's not going to happen and move on for that one.
I'm more surprised that strategically they didn't do it as well, because the movie was like $750 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. Like, to do Ayer's version, like to even just release it just for, money purposes on behalf of Warner Brothers. I'm that's what surprised me the most, because I get when you're at the head of a studio, you're a studio execs, you're looking at the bottom line. I just thought that was like, hey, let's just release this movie again and rake in more money.
The other thing too that I forgot to mention in terms of, there was another Suicide Squad movie that came out the same year as Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I think, as much as I just said, yes, if they were going to do it, they should have done it in that 12 to 18 months. They also wouldn't have wanted to take the wind out of the sails of their brand new Suicide Squad movie that was just on the verge of, or had just come out as well. So that probably worked against it as well.
Timing, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, is my opinion.
Well, I think that, Ricky, you have the right approach, which is expect nothing. And so anything that we were to get would be a nice surprise. Because, I completely agree, especially because it has been so long. So I understand that. It's at this point, I have moved on. Like, it's like, I would love to see it. I would love that redemption for David Ayer. My biggest thing is I have the score. The score is amazing by Stephen Price, and so little of it's in the movie because they put in all these needle drops. I want the movie that uses that score, damn it. So I would love
to it.
Oh, it's a great score.
It's very
Legit.
upbeat. It's really good.
Is it more of like a wake up, go to work thing, or like middle of your work day? What kind of score is it?
I say middle of the workday. It has like a nice driving momentum to it. It's pretty badass.
Okay.
But I will go against Brendan on this one.
Okay.
And say I would not be shocked if it happened. Because Ayer and Gunn have been so publicly supportive of each other. Because they both did Suicide Squad movies. And Gunn chose to respect Ayer and use a lot of the elements that he put in place. Like, they've been very friendly, and they've even addressed this of going, you know what, right now we're focused on the future, but we have talked. And so I don't know, like, I wouldn't put it past them at some point. Like you said, Ricky, 2024 is going to be quiet. Like, maybe as just a nice gesture and a way to give the fans something while we wait and to, make a couple bucks. Maybe this is the time. Maybe it will have been long enough that, like, it's less about airing dirty laundry and more about just kind of like making amends with what Ayer did. I wouldn't be completely shocked, I guess is my point. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if it were to happen, I don't think I'd be shocked because Gunn has been very supportive of Ayer.
Extend the olive branch to
possibly
have him direct something else. It came out in 2016. So, like, there's been a lot of time, time heals wounds. And like I can't remember who mentioned it, but there's a new regime, right? So the old regime is gone. So, like, there's nobody actively working against Ayer at this point.
Right.
So,
and again, everything that happened with Suicide Squad, I don't think was all that much about Ayer.
Yeah.
It was all blowback from BVS.
Oh, I have a question. So we were told that the original Suicide Squad was set more in line with Zack Snyder's Justice League, with the parademons and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you guys would want to see? Like the movie that links Zack Snyder's Justice League?
I would love to see it, but Ayer has clarified all that changed before they shot the movie.
Oh, okay, you're right. Fair about that.
So yeah, so like
that's me hopeful thinking.
Yeah, I would have loved that, but yeah, like before they even shot it, they decided to not make it as intimately connected. Yeah. All right, next message here is from Austin. It says, "Hey guys, which comic writer would you say understands Batman and his Bat family the best?"
I got
I've been
mine.
reading a lot of 80s through current detective comics, and I think that Chuck Dixon has a great take on these characters, and I was curious on your thoughts. Austin, oh man, that is an interesting question. That's a great question. But what do you think, Ricky? Any thoughts of a Batman writer who you think just has this great innate understanding of Batman and the Bat family?
For me, it's two. It's Tom Taylor and James Tynion IV.
Dude, I should have gone first.
My
Copy,
bad.
copy, and paste, and Chuck Dixon.
And
Austin,
Chuck-
you're right about Chuck Dixon. Ricky, you're right about your two choices. I'll just second it all around. Go ahead, please continue.
For Tom Taylor specifically, what's great about him is that he knows how to play in the DC multiverse in different sandboxes. He's really good at the grounded level, like Batman, Alfred moments, storytelling. He respects the Robins and how each one has something unique to offer both to the characters of both Bruce and Batman, and how Bruce works with other members of the League, and how when crisis occur, how he would react, and not only how he would react, how he would assemble, a team together, whether it's his own, ground units or within the Justice League, and into other multiverses as well, like with like DC Dark Knights of Steel or going into the deceased universe. But they all have different plot elements and things that are going wrong with them and different fights to have. But the string that connects all of them is the understanding of the only way we're going to get through all of this is together. These are my team. I love them. Yes, we have differences, but like it's perfect how he writes it without giving away like any specifics, because people should read these works. And like you guys talked about it too, when Tinian wrote his run on Detective, it was the perfect mix up of not just Batman, like bringing in people like Stephanie, bringing in people like Clayface, given the love that Tim Drake deserves and needs. And I love that you guys always bring up Tim, because it's important to understand Batman's overall progression as a character, because he's so old, not old, but he's been through 80 years of this. So, and it's important to keep the people around him who have helped shaped him into, the Bruce and the Batman that we know and love. And that's just for like main continuity for people who prefer that, but in other continuities as well, and other timelines that I love. It's what keeps me coming back to the books. And to me, that's important. And then obviously you need the talented artists, because, it's hard to read a comic where you love the story or you don't like the art, or vice versa.
Awesome. I think I know Brendan's answer, and I'm going to also second that. But Brendan, let's see how well I know you.
Well, look, no surprises for me. It's my first choice would be Paul Dini.
There you have it. There you go.
And then, of course, like, the more I've read of Tom Taylor's stuff, I mean, I got to give him some love as well. He just seems to be knocking it out of the park for DC at the moment. So, look, yeah, I obviously don't have such an in-depth answer that like Ricky just gave, but
sorry, man.
No, Dini's been doing it for over 30 years, and he gets it. He does. I think he gets it better than anyone else. So he's my guy.
Have you guys ever reviewed his Batman book about his
No, we need to. Is it called Dark Knight? I think
a Dark Knight or something like that. I
have read Brendan, have you read it?
Ago. Yeah, when it first came out, I read it.
It's beautiful. Time. It made me cry. The art is like it is just. It's It's a really good exercise in trauma, and how a character who we all love helps within our own healing.
Yeah, that's been on like the to-do list for the show, so we do need to get to that. But yeah, I mean, you guys already hit everyone I wanted to say. I think what Paul Dini and Tom Taylor are the two. Let me what they do. They have such a great bead on the Bat family, including Batman himself, that they make it look easy. Yeah. And that is the key, where you read their versions of these characters and you're like, oh, yeah, of course, obviously. And it just feels right. As opposed to some other writers, when you read it and you go, again, it doesn't always gel for you. But like when they do it, it just feels so spot on and natural and like living and breathing, and that I think is key. I agree with you about Tynan as well, especially when he was doing detective. When he was on Batman, I liked it more than most, but I just feel like his priorities were elsewhere. his priorities were like, how many characters can I create in a matter of 6 months?
Leave your mark.
Yeah, right. Like it was, and it was like it was a bit much. But that's not to take away from the amazing work he did on Detective. And you're right, same thing there. But those are all modern writers. But I got to give a huge shout out to whoever wrote me after our year end. And again, I don't always remember who always writes me. We get a lot of them. Who was like, Andy, you really need to read the Tom Taylor Nightwing book. And then our friends Eric and Joe over at The Fire Rises are like, oh no, Andy, seriously, you need to read the Tom Taylor Nightwing book. And I'm like, okay, I will. And I've been reading it before bed, and holy shit, it's so good. And again, he makes it look so easy. Like if he can do it just so spot on and just nailing it, boom, 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 and not to mention the amazing artwork that accompanies it, I'm like, holy crap, what the hell are the rest of y'all doing? Because like this is how it's done. Like it's just so smooth. It's like silky smooth. It's so good. And I just am loving it. So
He's writing Titans next, you know that?
I know, and I will definitely be getting that too. So yeah, his writing of Dick, Barbara, and then Tim was in a lot of it as well. Yep. And when it was the three of them, like, I mean, my three favorite Bat family members, oh my God, I was in hog heaven. It was the best.
I just hope they don't spread him too thin.
Yeah, I understand.
So he's doing those Superman books as well. Like, I don't want to see him spread too thin. But what he's doing
his
is
Jonathan
great.
Kent though is just, again, another character where it makes sense because the values that it is of Clark Kent passing on to his son, and again, it's like what Andy was saying. He writes in it. It's so easy. It's almost dumbfounding me. I'm like, how is he making it look like this? Of course, and now Nightwing and John have a relationship. With Like of course, like yes, like he trusts Nightwing and Dick to train him because he's learned everything he can from his dad. And now learning leadership roles, different elements of combat from Dick. I'm like, of course, it makes sense.
Yep, agreed.
The Paul Dini book is called Dark Knight: A True Batman Story.
There it is. Okay,
I looked it up. It was bothering me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Leave it to the Aussie to do the best work.
Is Tom Taylor an Aussie?
Oh yeah.
Did you not know that?
The only reason I know someone's Aussie if you tell me.
Oh yeah, he's and Nicholas Scott, who's going to be doing the art.
Well, then I take back everything I said.
Did not read Brendan's mail blog post with all the
Nicholas Scott is doing the art for that upcoming Titans book. She's an Aussie as well, and her art is gorgeous.
Well, shit, damn you Aussies.
Are you ever going to get to a con to meet them, Brendan?
I've met both of them before a couple of times. Yeah, Tom Taylor's awesome.
So jealous of you.
Awesome. All right, next message is from Brian B. It says, hey guys, hope things are well. I recently started a rewatch of all the DC animated films, and it's been fun. My question is, besides the obvious choices of Conroy and Hamill, which voices have stood out to you in those movies? Personally, I'd say Victor Garber as Sinestro, William Baldwin and Jeremy Sisto as Batman, Gary Russell as Wonder Woman, and especially John DiMaggio as the Joker. Secondly, I recently started to move to digital for movies that I've owned and never upgraded to Blu-ray, let alone to 4K. I know that you guys have gone digital, but when do you think you'll stop buying releases physically? Personally, I love getting a 4K and adding it to my shelf, so I hope that doesn't leave. Lastly, Andy, I love the Lord of the Rings pod that you did, and I laughed at the story of you teasing your roommate's parents. I had a similar experience in the 90s where we were at a friend's sleepover to watch the Pat Colts Saturday night game right before Christmas. I brought someone who I played basketball with. After a loud noise came from my parents' room, my friend yelled up, "Good for you guys, still throwing down at your age," which preceded his very stern dad to run down, kick him out, me for inviting him, and then lecture the remaining kids about respect. It worked out because we're still friends and ate frozen pizza while watching the game that night at my place. Thanks for the hard work on the pod and best of luck going forward. Thanks, Brian. So yeah, he's talking about the Two Towers podcast we did over on Real Fans, which was a lot of fun. So thank you. And
was that recently?
Yeah, it was last week.
I need to listen to that. I love that movie.
Yeah, go check that out. So, 2 questions. First question is about favorite DC animated voices aside from Conroy and Hamill, because they're obvious.
Oh yeah.
Ricky?
Well, I know we're not supposed to talk about this guy, but I love the Justice League Crisis on Two Earths like so much. I think it's one of my favorite ones. I revisit that one a lot. And James Woods as Owlman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. He is great.
He plays a really good foil to Batman. I also really like Bruce Greenwood. I think he does more Young Justice though, or has he done a few of the movies?
He was Batman in Under the Red Hood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Young Justice.
That was mine. Mine was Bruce Greenwood. Greenwood for sure.
He's really good. He's probably now my second favorite after Conroy. I'd have to.
I agree with that actually. I mean, I've loved so many Batman voices, but yeah, I think Greenwood is right up there. He's so good.
Who's doing Caped Crusader?
I don't think we know.
Because if Greenwood's just hanging out, we should get him.
I know. Yeah, I don't think they've even announced any casting for that yet.
Off the back of Greenwood too, like I know he's our new ongoing Batman, but Jensen Ackles as Jason Todd.
He's solid.
His performance in that movie is so damn good, particularly the scene where he confronts Batman, in the bathroom and stuff. Man, it's just not just good voice acting, it's just good acting. It's amazing.
I love that scene. He hits his head on the toilet in the sink, doesn't
he? Yeah. There's been so many movies. I'm just trying to think. But Bruce Greenwood and Jensen Ackles are the two that jumped out to me.
So I feel like he doesn't get nearly enough love because he's been doing so much Batman over the years. And that's Jason O'Mara.
Yeah.
Like he has done so much Batman and he's so good at it. And I think the only reason he doesn't get more love is he's not Kevin Conroy. And I get it, Kevin Conroy, legend. Like that's no shade on Kevin Conroy, but I think O'Mara does amazing work as Batman, and he's done it in so many animated movies that I want to give him a little love too, because I think that he deserves it. Aside from the ones that you guys mentioned, I loved the Victor Garber as Sinestro call out there because that's perfect. Because I had honestly forgotten about that, and as soon as you said it, Brian, I was like, oh yeah, that is a good one.
Jerry O'Connell as Superman wasn't too bad either. I thought
he was
a pretty decent job.
Yeah, he was
going
quite
back to
good.
O'Mara. I like the parts for his Batman specifically when he was just having like one-on-one conversations with Clark about certain whatever was going on, and I thought he did a lot better job at that than when he was yelling at Hal Jordan for whatever reason.
Yeah. I know that, we got a little Nathan Fillion here and there, which I'm always happy to hear his voice. I kind of feel like I need to look at all the cast lists of all.
Yeah,
Rosario Dawson is Wonder Woman in those movies.
That's a great choice. Rosario's Wonder Woman. Yeah.
You could feel that power behind that. Okay, whatever she says goes. I don't want to mess with her.
That's a great choice too.
And then, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name, but he was Shazam in those animated movies.
Sean Astin.
Talked about Two Towers. Yeah, Sean Astin. I thought that was great.
Awesome. Well, there's some off the top of our heads. And then a question about when do you think movies will stop being released physically? I think that there will always be physical releases, even if it's in a smaller sense, but for fans. So I still think that'll happen. But I'll be honest, I buy 90% digital and 10% physical because I can't fill my house with nothing but discs. So I'm very picky about what I buy physically now. And it's usually DC movies, occasionally a horror movie. But no, I don't think it's going away anytime soon because there is such a dedicated fan base of us movie nerds who still want to own things physically. So I think you don't have anything to worry about for a while. At least that's the way I think.
I agree because especially for us as movie fans and movie goers, one of the biggest draws for that is I want to see it in 4K. I want to see it in IMAX, and I already know that they're shooting, films in 8K, and TVs and the technology, they're just getting better. So the at-home viewing experience is going to also be dependent on also having physical media still, so that we can, when Back to the Future, my favorite movie, comes out in 8K, I'm gonna buy that disc. It's just,
Yeah. All right. Well, next message here is from Mark Jurasevic. It says, "Hey guys, hope all is well. In your opinion, who's the best actor in live action to portray Superman, and who is the best Clark Kent, and who was the best complete Superman and Clark Kent? And they don't necessarily need to be the same person. And then out of the live action Batman, who do you think could also play Superman and vice versa?" Okay. All right. There's a lot of questions.
I got it.
A lot of questions. Well, we'll start one at a time, just because. Who played the best Clark Kent?
Well,
Ricky?
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Brendan, I'm talking to Ricky.
It's Christopher Reeves for me.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, Christopher Reeve for Clark Kent for sure.
Oh, wow. I think, oh my God, I'm going to go with Tom Welling.
Oh, that's a good one.
Well, I mean, yeah, he never really played
saw
Superman.
10 years of that.
But like, my issue with, I mean, again, I love Christopher Reeve, but like, he plays the like
Timid. You don't like
cartoonier, goofier Clark, and that's a facade he's putting on, right? But like, Tom Welling's Clark was so real and like was a real person, and that you saw so much growth over 10 years, and maybe it's unfair to put 10 years of character development against a movie, but yeah, I guess when I just think of Clark Kent, I think of Tom Welling. Best Superman.
Go ahead, Brendan.
We're all going to be on the same page here, I reckon.
Oh, yeah.
Henry Cavill.
It's Henry.
I was gonna go with Christopher Reeve.
Oh, okay.
But it's a tough call. It's a tough call, but I'm gonna go with Christopher Reeve. And again, I think maybe that's more because of the material Henry was given. And then the best combo. Who did both the best? Checked both boxes. Ricky?
Brendan Routh.
Oh, Brendan?
You know what? Mine's a coin toss between Brendan Routh and Tyler Hoechlin.
Can I also count Brendan Routh's portrayal as Superman in the CW series as well?
I mean, sure.
Okay, because that definitely is my answer.
See, and this is where I was going to go with Henry on this one because I feel like it's so good. It's a great balance for Henry. But I'm going to go with Henry and Tyler Hoechlin because I can't pick. I think they both have a great balance of both.
I'm with Brendan. Like Tyler would be my second, and I really need to finish season 2 of Superman and Lois because that show is awesome.
Yeah,
there's a moment in the most recent episode of Superman and Lois that I almost, because I was laying in bed watching it, I almost jumped out of bed and cheered.
Season 3?
Yes,
I got to get caught up.
It was so damn good, and it was a Clark moment. Oh, it was good.
I can't wait. Catch it.
All right. A live action Batman who could have played Superman. Brendan?
I mean, I think the easy answer is Ben.
Yeah.
Because we even know what he looked like in a Superman costume.
Right.
I don't. Oh.
Prime Val Kilmer for me.
Yeah, I was thinking Val Kilmer, but then I was thinking, yeah, actually, you know what? Kilmer. Yeah, Kilmer.
All right. I was going to say Clooney.
I couldn't see Clooney. I was thinking that right now. I was like, I can't.
I was thinking Bale, but then I was just like, no, actually, I think Kilmer, like in the early 90s, for sure.
I was thinking Clooney circa like pre-ER, like right there at that like young.
When he guest starred on Friends, George Clooney.
He was in ER then. Are you thinking more sort of, was he on, what was the sitcom he started? Or was it Roseanne or one of those?
He was on Roseanne. Yeah, I'm thinking like Booker, George Clooney on Roseanne, kind of.
Yeah, because he kind of had the
with the more hair and everything. Yeah. And then a Superman who could have played Batman. Brendan?
Look, I think I'm going to have to go with my boy Hoechlin again.
Yeah, he's
Because
good.
I remember he even in the rumor mill, you know, with before Ben was cast. I'm sure he was mentioned because he was
I don't
famous from
know.
Teen Wolf at the time.
Well,
But yeah, I could see Hecklen doing it.
all right.
I think Henry for me. Like if I saw Henry in Ben's suit, it would literally scare the crap out of me. Like just the intimidating factor alone, and I think Henry can play those brooding elements that Bruce Wayne had for Zach. If we're going to use the same material, I think he would have nailed that actually.
Yeah, I that's where I am too. I think Henry, especially after someone a few episodes ago was like, "What if Henry played Batman in Brave and the Bold?" I was that's brilliant, and I love it. Yeah, I think he absolutely could. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that too. All right, Mark, that's a fun question, but man, many tears to that question.
Yeah.
All right, one last here. This is from another Mark Bickford. It says, "Hey guys, happy Easter. I'm sorry I hit you with 2 emails last time, but I have a couple of Shazam questions for you. First, do you think the Billy is desperately trying to keep his family together story would have worked better if it had been Asher Angel in the doctor scene rather than Zachary Levi? Yes, we'd lose the I'm a pediatrician gag, but I think no matter how we realize intellectually that Billy and Shazam are the same person, we tend to think of them as 2 separate people. Having Shazam on screen for almost the entire film and Asher barely in it buried Billy's whole storyline and evolution for me. What do you think? Second, after the final post-credit scene played out, do you think there's a chance that Mary Marvel could get the JSA gig and keep going? Let's be honest, she wouldn't be nearly as goofball when asked to join the JSA that Shazam was. But let's be doubly honest, I'm a Mary Marvel simp, and I really want Grace to get to continue to play her. I realize we don't know what Gunn's plans are, and the movie unfairly failed at the box office, but I think that she could just continue. Third, the movie really should have come out in January, before the Flash trailer dropped. But if I recall, Disney basically forced theater chains to devoting 4 to 6 weeks of premium screens to Avatar and then Ant-Man, which made a release in that time frame undoable. Do you think that do you think that releasing after the Flash trailer rather than before it hurt the film? Last, unrelated question, imagine that Joker 2 is a hit, and a third film focuses on Harley moving on from Arthur. Who would you cast as Poison Ivy in that situation with the intent of a Harley Ivy love story? Have a great week, Mark. All right, Mark. Thank you for the messages. First question. Shazam. Having all of Shazam in the movie and very little Billy, do you think that hurt the emotional arc of the movie? Brandon?
Yes, because I think it would have. We even talked about it in our review. It would have given you more of the friction's not the right word, but it would have shown more of the relationship with him and his foster mum, which is what they were really trying to go for, and they just didn't quite, they didn't quite nail it. So yeah, I think it would have helped the emotional aspect of the movie.
Ricky?
I agree. Also, in that same scene when Shazam Zach is in the bedroom where they go to wake him up, I thought that would have been a great time also as well for him to change back into Billy, because there's that moment where he's trying to convince them like, hey, this is who we are, this is what we've been hiding from you, unfortunately. And I get in the whole plot of the movie that they were trying to explain to their parents who they were really fast, and I think that also was a detriment, because I feel like you want to let that moment kind of like simmer, so you can kind of have a better understanding of what he's going through. And going back to the first part with him meeting with the doctor, I would have thought that maybe it should have been Asher, because it's important to show that and I remember a lot of people talking about in the very first Shazam movie where the representations of foster kids and their parents, and I think that would also help with this film as well, as showing, hey, it's okay to go and speak to about your feelings out in the open about your foster parents, your siblings, and the difficulty that it can be once you reach the end of that stage. Because I don't know anything about being in the foster system. I don't know what it's like growing up in those situations, and I think it would have gone a long way to show us as the audience what actually goes on with the kids and what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And you lose that a little bit while he's, Shazam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree that I just think a little more balance between Billy and Shazam, yes, would have just overall helped the film and helped especially the emotional arc of the film. I don't necessarily think it had to have been the doctor scene. I don't think that is the crux of where it all, you know, where it all rests. I think there were other moments, like you said, like maybe the moments with the parents. There are other moments in the film that I think that going back to Billy would have, I think, helped things. And so, yeah, I agree. But I think that we mentioned that, as I feel like the child versions of every character except Freddy kind of get changed in this one, because they pretty much just stay all the adult versions. And I think a little more balance between the two would have helped overall. The second question about Mary Marvel. Last time someone asked about the future of Shazam, and I said, even if there are no more Shazam movies, there's no reason Zachary Levi couldn't continue to be Shazam in shared films. And I think that's also true for Mary Marvel. You don't have to have solo films or additional Shazam films, but there's no reason you couldn't keep those actors in those roles in the future of the DCU. So I think that those things are still on the table. I don't know if that's what Gunn and Safran want to do, but I think there's no reason you couldn't do that. Ricky, what do you think?
For the longest time, I didn't have very much knowledge concerning the Shazamly and Mary Marvel, but here in the last 2 years, Mary Marvel has been pretty prevalent in a lot of different storylines, whether it be DC versus vampires, and she got her own like 4-issue miniseries. And after reading all of those, I can say, yeah, Mary can easily either have her solo adventure or be part of a Justice League or Justice League International or JSA, however James Gunn and them want to work on that. But they're all of their their ability to kind of mix and mingle some of these Shazam characters, I think, would benefit them, because there's a lot of diverse characters within it, and you could always have a mixture of have Zach and Chloe here. You can have a few members everywhere. And the movie itself did that because Freddy wanted to be on his own at certain times. So we already have the idea built in where we love them as a group and as a family, yes, but they can exist in other areas. Like we could, they can be closer to Gotham. Somebody could be in Central City. Somebody can be in Coast City. I mean, it can work. Just need a little bit of brain work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Brendan, thoughts?
If you want to put more Grace on the big screen, I am all for it.
Agreed.
Is
and again, I think they could. I think they could.
No, I think she's great. I mean, look, I know it's probably too close and they'd never do it, but she'd be an all right Wonder Woman too.
No, that is true, but you're right.
It's not going to happen. But no, I really like the character, and that little mini series she had, the character was really good as well. I read that a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I like the character and I like the actress, so I'm down for that.
Awesome.
If she can't come back as Mary, I'd love her back as someone like Zatanna or somebody, because you're right. She needs to. I want to keep her here in the DC universe because she's great.
Mm-hmm. Mark, you make a great observation about the premium screens being committed to Avatar and then Ant-Man, so maybe there was no window in there. I think that's interesting. But do you think releasing the movie after the Flash trailer hurt the film? Brandon?
I don't think it was the Flash trailer. I think it was just, and we've talked about it, like March was chockers. Like it was chock-a-block full of big movies. And this movie didn't really have any time to itself at the box office. It followed two big movies, and then there was another big movie that came out straight after it. Like it didn't really have much of a chance.
I agree with that. Ricky?
You talked about it on a few episodes ago where, I mean, it's a sequel that came out 4 years later. Like COVID changed everything. It probably suffered through rewrites. I mean, I actually can't wait until the disc comes out so I can see the extended version or the deleted scenes, because I believe the film itself is probably better than the theatrical one that we got. But even if it would have released in January, I I could have sworn James Gunn already said that we're gonna show you guys the slate somewhere at the end of January, right? And because he waited to like the last possible moment.
Yeah. Yep.
So
January
even
31st.
if even if it came before, then we would have seen the slate, and then noticed that there's no Shazam 3 or no Black Adam 2 featuring versus the Shazamly. So I mean, it's in the past now, I guess.
I know. Yeah, I agree.
For me, I just still think with January, like, yeah, I know the premium screens and stuff. That's not so much a thing over here. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, Megan was a good movie, but it did. I think Avatar helped it do even better because it was really the only other thing you could see. Like, if you hadn't seen or didn't want to see Avatar, it was kind of Megan, and that's it. Like, I think Shazam coming out mid to late Jan, a week or two before the slate was released, I think it would have done. Honestly, I think it would have done better because it was giving people another option.
Mm. All right, and then the final question is about if they were to do a Gaga Harley sequel and have Harley and Ivy, who should be that Ivy? Ricky, thoughts?
I'm trying to remember her name, but who the name of the mother in Shazam?
Oh,
I just want to see more of her. I'm like, can she dye her hair red and we could make her
okay. I don't know her name either, but sure.
I think it's Martha. I think it's like Martha Milans. Yeah, Martha Milans. That's what it is.
Okay. Brendan, thoughts?
It's hard to not think because your brain instantly goes to, well, which actress looks like this character? So you're kind of thinking of redheads.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, sort of similar age, I guess, to Gaga. And like, I just keep coming up with either Jessica Chastain or Bryce Dallas Howard. But I'm sure there could be other, better options out there, that not to take anything away from those two. But yeah, you can't help but go for who looks like that character.
Yeah, I think Chastain is sort of the low-hanging fruit, but it's also makes a lot of sense because you're right. She's sort of the same age as Gaga. She certainly looks the part. She's been on the wish list for fans for a while. So yeah, the only other one I'll say, and I fan cast her as Poison Ivy before, but why not here? And that's Natalie Dormer. I think she's great, and I think she could be a great Poison Ivy. But yeah, otherwise I'd have to think more about it. All right, we're closing the Wayne Manor mailbox, guys. If you've got something for us, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. But that is where we are also going to be wrapping up this episode. So thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for spending this Easter Sunday evening with me to talk about Blue Beetle and comic books and Batman and Shazam and all kinds of stuff in there about, Scarface, the important thing. So super fun. Ricky, thank you for making the time. Truly was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. This is so much fun.
Of course. I'm glad. And tell our friends where they can find you if you're even out there. I don't even know.
On Twitter, I am at Nightwing19. I got that really early on Twitter.
Oh, look at you.
And on Instagram, I'm at Ricky Wingding, because all of my stuff is Nightwing based.
Ricky Wingding, that's you.
That's you.
That's me.
Oh my God! Now it all makes sense. Oh, there you are. I already follow you. See, I your not, but your civilian name. I was like, Ricky Garcia. It sounds familiar. But now I'm like, oh no, I'm making all the connections of we already follow each other on everything.
You got the Charlie Day, Red String.
Yes, it all is connected. Okay, great. Thank you, Ricky. And give Ricky a follow on Instagram and on Twitter. Brendan, we know where to find you.
Yeah, outside your bedroom window.
Same place as always. Same place as always.
Dang. Didn't even open the door for him?
Steaming up the window. Making things awkward for me and my wife. So if you'd like outside your window.
On Twitter at Lovey007 or on Facebook in the Real Fans groups.
Awesome. I already told you guys where to find me, but thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate it. Please do follow or subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. It's another thing that you can do to help us out that is easy and quick and free. Takes 2 seconds to just go ahead and give us a nice high star rating and a nice couple comments. We would appreciate that. Again, you go to holybatcast.com or find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. If you got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address again is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our pals over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. And if you're going to buy something, use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. But that'll do it. On behalf of Brendan and Ricky, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. Our theme, oh my God, my mouth is not working tonight.
Too much chocolate on Easter.
I think that's it. I think it is. Or I could just blame that I've been sick. Maybe that's it. You know, I don't have full control of all my faculties again.
I love that you get Gaurav's name out without a hitch, but like it was just our theme tune is what was throwing you.
Oh, theme music. Yeah, yeah.